Favorite row definitely would have to be the Hermès row, and this one here is really special. If my house is on fire, I would take this one out of all of them.
Luxury bags carefully handcrafted in China. The viral TikToks from Chinese factory workers, the internet is now in a frenzy over claims that some of the most iconic designer bags are actually born in the East.
What if that $20,000 Hermès bag you've been saving for wasn't even made in France? What if it came from the same factory that churns out knockoffs? And what if Kylie Jenner just confirmed your worst suspicions? The luxury fashion world is spiraling into chaos after a wave of viral TikToks exposed shocking truths behind the most iconic designer labels. One video, one comment, and now an entire $380 billion industry is under fire. The fantasy is cracking, and the champagne-drenched illusion of exclusivity is giving way to sweatshops, silent boutiques, and influencers pulling the plug. This isn't just a scandal. It's a luxury apocalypse. And at the center of it all, Hermès, a brand built on secrecy, is suddenly facing a reckoning no one saw coming. Stick around, because once you see how deep this deception goes, you might never look at a designer bag the same way again. She stood in the doorway, the house behind her engulfed in flames. Firefighters yelled, neighbors screamed, but she didn't move. Smoke curled through her hair, tears streaked her soot-covered cheeks, but she held on. Not to family photos, not to her passport or a hard drive. No, she was clutching her Hermès Birkin bag like a lifeline, arms wrapped tight around the orange box, as if it contained her very soul. It was leather and fireproof hope. To her, it wasn't a handbag. It was everything, a status symbol, an investment, a badge of exclusivity. And in that one surreal moment, it became the spark that ignited an internet inferno. Because just days after that image went viral, circulated by luxury lovers as proof of undying loyalty to craftsmanship, another video emerged. But this one wasn't glossy. It wasn't filtered. It wasn't curated by a Parisian atelier or a high-fashion magazine. No, it was raw, pixelated, and filmed on a factory floor in China. The TikTok began innocently enough. Quiet music, quick pans of workers hunched over sewing machines. And then it cut to a close-up, a factory worker heat-stamping "Made in France" into a leather tag. The comments section exploded. At first, people refused to believe it. Hermès? The French house of old money and newer dreams? The same brand with waiting lists longer than presidential terms and price tags bigger than mortgage payments? That Hermès, outsourcing production to China and faking the country of origin? Impossible. But then, the dominoes fell. Within 24 hours, TikTok detectives, armed with screenshots, customs records, and angry captions, dug up more footage. More factory clips. More stamps. Workers casually packing orange boxes into shipping containers. Someone zoomed in on a box labeled Shenzhen. Someone else found a listing for bulk zippers identical to Hermès hardware on Alibaba. The disbelief turned into obsession. Fashion forums lit up. Reddit threads ballooned overnight. Every handbag influencer suddenly had a storytime video. Some denied it. Others confessed they'd heard whispers for years. But the most shocking part? The receipts kept coming. One user claimed her $30,000 Birkin smelled off, and, on a hunch, took it to a leather expert, who told her the stitching was machine perfect, too perfect. Another said their Hermès wallet was flagged by a resale authenticator for inconsistencies in the hardware weight, but it had come straight from an Hermès boutique. The internet was no longer whispering. It was screaming, and in the center of the chaos stood that image again of the woman in the fire, still holding her Hermès bag like salvation. Suddenly, it wasn't a symbol of luxury. It was a tragic irony, because now the question wasn't just why she risked her life for it, but what exactly she was holding on to. Was it heritage? Or was it just a really expensive lie? She didn't post a press release. She didn't go live with crocodile tears. She didn't even name names. All Kylie Jenner did was drop a one-liner, 10 words max, in the comment section of TikTok. And just like that, the facade of luxury collapsed. It was subtle, almost too subtle. A TikTok creator had just posted a viral expose on Hermès, laying out all the evidence that their so-called French-made handbags were quietly being sourced from Chinese factories. The video was gaining traction, millions of views, thousands of stun comments, but no one expected Kylie Jenner to show up. And yet there she was. Verified check, no PR spin, no assistant-crafted statement. Just 3 little words that said everything. This isn't even surprising anymore. Boom. No hashtags. No defense of the brand. No disclaimers. Just a soft nudge that hit harder than any formal expose ever could. Because Kylie Jenner isn't just a celebrity. She is the blueprint. The influencer who became a billionaire. The beauty mogul who built an empire on perception. When she speaks, even in whispers, the internet listens. And what she didn't say spoke louder than anything. She didn't defend Hermès. She didn't say the claims were false. She didn't warn her followers to avoid misinformation. Instead, she implied what thousands were afraid to say. This is real. It's been real. And she's not shocked because behind the velvet ropes and the gated showrooms, they've known the truth for a while. That single comment tore a hole in the luxury veil. Within hours, other influencers began distancing themselves. Quietly, strategically. One fashion vlogger removed every Hermès tag from her Instagram. A popular YouTuber known for Birkin unboxings suddenly pivoted to talking about sustainable brands, without explanation. TikTok stylists who once swore by Hermès started recommending dupes that respect your intelligence. You could feel the silence tightening. Luxury bag forums lit up with conspiracy threads. Why hasn't Hermès responded? Was Kylie shading them or warning us? How deep does this go? Some fans begged Kylie to elaborate. She didn't. She didn't need to. That silence was her power move. Because everyone knew if Kylie Jenner, queen of curated luxury, no longer cared about protecting the brand, something was seriously wrong. Even die-hard fans started to crack. One user posted a tearful TikTok holding her orange box, confessing she'd waited 3 years and spent 10 grand to get her first Hermès piece, only to now feel duped. Another stitched Kylie's comment with the caption, "So y'all been new?" And the worst part? No one from Hermès came forward to stop the bleeding. No press statement. No denial. Just silence. The kind of silence that confirms everything. And then came the reckoning. Fashion credibility is built on illusion, on mystique, on the unspoken agreement that if you buy in, you're part of an exclusive club. But what happens when the club's most influential member walks out and slams the door behind her? Kylie didn't need to cancel Hermès. She made them irrelevant. Her silence told her 400 million followers that the brand was no longer worth defending. And when she stopped showing off her Birkins, her fans stopped wanting them. Fast. Suddenly, being seen with an Hermès bag wasn't aspirational. It was embarrassing. Comments like, "Oh, you still carry that?" and "Didn't Kylie drop them?" flooded influencer pages. Resale platforms saw a spike in listings of Birkin and Kelly bags, often captioned with phrases like "letting go" or "clearing my collection." Prices dropped, not dramatically, but enough to shake the foundation. And the influencers? The ones who once lined up outside Hermès boutiques in Paris, vlogging every inch of their shopping experiences, they've gone quiet. Some claim to be on a luxury detox. Others are suddenly passionate about slow fashion. But everyone knows what's really happening. They're scared because Kylie Jenner didn't just comment. She detonated a cultural shift. She broke the silent loyalty oath between luxury brands and their public ambassadors. And she did it not with drama or scandal, but with a single, perfectly timed eye roll of a sentence. And the message was clear. The emperor has no clothes, and the Birkin might be made in China. Once upon a time, just walking into an Hermès boutique without an appointment was considered gauche. You didn't browse at Hermès, you earned the right to shop. Sales associates had waiting lists memorized like sacred texts. Customers whispered the names of their dream Birkins like prayers, hoping their financial devotion would someday be rewarded with a call. The orange box wasn't just packaging, it was a trophy, a symbol, proof that you were chosen. But now, you can practically walk into certain Hermès stores and be offered a Birkin on the spot. No ceremony, no mystery, No weightless politics. Just, would you like to see it in black or gold? And with that, the illusion shatters. Luxury isn't just about price. It's about perceived scarcity. About the chase, the thrill of being denied. The performance of exclusivity. Hermès built an empire on the power of no. And now, they're whispering yes to just about anyone with a credit card and a whiff of influencer clout. The boutique experience that once felt like an elite ritual now feels like a retail hustle. Reports have been pouring in. TikTokers walking into suburban malls and walking out with Birkins. No games. No relationship building. No purchase history required. In cities like Las Vegas, Houston, and even parts of Europe, customers have found Birkins on shelves, ready to buy. And with every easy acquisition, the brand's once impossible mystique takes another hit. Because let's be honest, if anyone can get it, it's no longer worth chasing. It's not just the bags that are easy to find, it's the silence in the stores. Once bustling flagships, now echo with awkward small talk. Sales associates who used to carry themselves like luxury gatekeepers now hover nervously, asking if you need help finding your size in sandals. Window displays go untouched. Seasonal drops arrive with a whimper, not a bang. There are no lines, no velvet ropes, just air conditioning and empty tension. And then there's the pricing, skyrocketing with a desperation you can practically smell. Hermès has been quietly raising prices again and again, claiming inflation and craftsmanship. But insiders see it for what it really is, panic disguised as strategy. The brand is trying to patch its leaking prestige with bigger numbers. If they can't be exclusive through scarcity, they'll try to do it through cost. But it's not working. The resale market tells the real story. Pre-owned Birkins, once flipped for 2, even 3 times retail, are now sitting, not selling. Collectors who once fought tooth and nail for a bag are unloading them like bad stock. Soft luxury is the new buzzword, and Hermès is softening fast. The floodgates are open, and what's rushing in isn't money, it's disillusionment. Even longtime collectors are voicing regret. They feel like they've been sold a fantasy that no longer holds up under scrutiny. A dream built on stitched leather, marketing smoke, and mirrors from Paris, when in reality, it might have been stitched in Shenzhen and hyped on lies. So what's left? A legacy brand with empty showrooms, overexposed products, and a reputation in freefall. Hermès used to be about quiet power, generational wealth, the kind of status you didn't flaunt because it was understood. Now, it's just another name in the influencer costume closet, hanging on by threads of nostalgia and a few stubborn diehards clinging to the myth. But the truth is out. The allure is gone. And without mystery, luxury dies. Luxury used to be untouchable, recession-proof, immune to scandal, immune to change. It thrived on one thing, illusion. But in 2025, that illusion is cracking on a global scale. And the numbers don't lie. For the first time in years, the luxury sector has posted a decline, a modest but symbolic 2% dip worldwide. And while that might not sound catastrophic, in an industry built on constant growth, even a ripple signals a deeper quake. Especially when it's tied to the one market luxury brands have relied on like a golden crutch, China. Luxury's golden goose is walking away. Chinese consumers, once responsible for over 30% of global luxury spending, have pulled back hard. Economic shifts, tighter government scrutiny on conspicuous consumption, and a cultural pivot toward domestic pride have taken the shine off imported status symbols. According to the latest data, demand for heritage luxury brands in China has dropped by over 24%. That's not a slowdown. That's a retreat, a wake-up call. But the real storm isn't just geographic. It's generational. Gen Z and millennials are rewriting the rules, and they are done worshiping at the altar of old luxury. They don't want gatekeeping. They don't want leather soaked in animal cruelty and colonial aesthetics. They don't want overpriced handbags made in secret Chinese factories while marketing screams, made in France. What they want: transparency, accountability, receipts. These new consumers aren't falling for heritage fairy tales or century-old logos passed off as personality. They're asking questions. Who made this? Where? Under what conditions? Why does it cost this much? And if you can't answer them without flinching, you've already lost them. Brands like Hermès, Chanel, and Louis Vuitton are realizing, far too late, that mystique doesn't work on a generation raised on Reddit threads, whistleblower TikToks, and expose documentaries. This is the era of the open secret, and Gen Z refuses to be complicit in a lie just because it comes with gold hardware and a Parisian accent. We're witnessing a cultural rebellion against the very DNA of luxury branding. Because for decades, luxury meant exclusion. It meant flaunting wealth in a world full of struggle. It meant buying things not for their function, but for the fantasy they sold. But now, the fantasy feels offensive, outdated, a little ridiculous, honestly. What happens when people no longer see a $30,000 handbag as aspirational, but as a symbol of ignorance, privilege, or manipulation? They walk away. The luxury backlash isn't loud. It's quiet, powerful, and global. Consumers aren't protesting. They're simply opting out, unfollowing the brands, canceling waitlists, selling off their collections, refusing to be pawns in someone else's game of illusion. Luxury thought it could withstand anything. A little scandal here, a viral video there. But it wasn't ready for what's happening now, a generation-level rejection. Not just of one brand or one product, but of the entire value system that kept luxury afloat. The myth is breaking. The market is shrinking. And the era of untouchable luxury, that's over. If you want to understand how the luxury industry is really falling apart, don't go to a boardroom. Go to Reddit. Go to our /designer reps, our /fashion reps, our /luxury scams. These aren't fringe forums anymore. These are the front lines of a social media rebellion that's gutting the luxury illusion with digital precision. Thousands of users are comparing, dissecting, and exposing, and the brands are terrified. Because now, the internet knows too much. Side-by-side comparisons are everywhere. Photos of a made-in-France Hermès Birkin next to an identical bag traced back to a factory in China. TikTokers zooming in on stitching, glazing, heat stamps, showing receipts that tell a very different story than what the boutiques are selling. $25,000 bags compared to $500 replicas. And guess what? The differences are barely visible. Sometimes there are no differences, and collectors are furious. People who spent years building their luxury collections are realizing they weren't buying exclusivity. They were buying into a lie. I waited 3 years for a Birkin and dropped $18,000. One collector wrote on TikTok. Then I saw a girl on Reddit with a rep from DHgate that looked better than mine. I feel like a fool. Another viral post. A woman who sold her Chanel classic flap, not because she needed the money, but because she said, quote, "It stopped feeling special when I realized the mystery was manufactured." And then there are the influencers. The ones who spent years telling their followers that you had a shop-in-store, that you needed a purchase history, that the game was worth it. Now, those same influencers are getting called out, exposed for secretly buying discounted stock, even reps, while preaching brand loyalty online. One influencer, who built an entire platform around her Hermès collection, was recently caught reselling fake sandals for full price on Instagram. Her comment section? Disabled. Her followers? Gone. The trust is broken. Luxury once relied on secrecy. Now, it can't survive the sunlight. Every post, every unboxing, every boutique experience is now dissected in real time. And Gen Z? They trust each other more than any brand associate. The new luxury concierge doesn't work in Paris or Milan. They moderate subreddits. They post TikTok hauls. They go live to compare real versus rep. And they will drag a brand through the mud if they catch a single inconsistency. Even resale sites are feeling the heat. Listings once marked authentic are getting called out by eagle-eyed users who notice a zipper placement or a stitching angle that's off. Entire marketplaces are being reevaluated by crowdsourced experts who know what real should look like, because they've studied both the fakes and the originals better than the brands themselves. This isn't just a trend. This is a reckoning. The digital community has become the new authority on authenticity, and they're not afraid to name names. They've flipped the power dynamic. Luxury can no longer gaslight its way through quality issues, outsourcing scandals, or outrageous markups. Because now, the people buying the bags are also the ones blowing the whistle. The rebellion isn't coming. It's already here. And the brands? They're no longer in control of the narrative. For over a century, Hermès was the crown jewel of luxury, a fortress of leather, legacy, and secrecy. It didn't chase trends. It didn't advertise heavily. It didn't need to. Hermès was the brand that everyone wanted, but almost no one could have. A Birkin wasn't just a handbag. It was a status symbol, a rite of passage, a velvet rope fantasy reserved for the wealthy, the patient, and the well-connected. But in 2025, that fantasy is falling apart. Because today's consumer doesn't want mystery. They want answers. They want receipts. And Hermès? It's stuck in an identity crisis that may be impossible to escape. Let's start with the core problem. Hermès was built on exclusivity, manufactured scarcity, the idea that you can't just walk into a store and buy what you want. No, you have to build a relationship. Play the game. Spend thousands on homeware and silk scarves just to maybe be offered a handbag from the backroom. But that game, once seen as glamorous, now reeks of elitism and manipulation, especially in an era where TikTokers and Reddit sleuths are blowing the whistle on how these relationships often boil down to racial profiling, favoritism, and internal politics. Countless users have come forward saying they were denied bags, not because of inventory, but because they didn't look the part. Some even allege they were told to bring in white friends or dress a certain way to be considered worthy. That's not luxury. That's discrimination wrapped in orange boxes. And as the veil lifts, the core question becomes, can Hermès evolve? Or is it too addicted to the illusion of exclusivity to survive in a truth-obsessed world? Right now, Hermès is trying to have it both ways. On the surface, it's still pushing heritage, hand-stitched bags, equestrian roots, timeless craftsmanship. But behind the curtain, reports continue to leak about production being outsourced to Chinese factories, animal rights controversies in their exotic skins division, and shocking inconsistencies in quality control. In one viral video, a woman compares two authentic Hermès Birkins purchased months apart. One pristine, the other riddled with stitching flaws, soft corners, and uneven glazing. And the worst part? The boutique denied any issue. No apology. No exchange. Just the cold shrug of a brand too powerful to care. In any other industry, this would spark reform. But Hermès isn't just any brand. It's a religion. Yet religions fall when belief fades. And right now, the faith is fading fast. Contrast that with the rise of new quiet luxury brands that are doing everything Hermès won't. Labels like The Row, Loro Piana, Kylie, and Phoebe Philo's independent relaunch are reshaping luxury around transparency, sustainability, and intentional design. They don't rely on logos or flex culture. They aren't playing games with stock or humiliating customers for daring to ask, "Do you have this in black?" Instead, they tell you who made the clothes, where the materials came from, why the price is what it is. And while Hermès is clinging to its century-old mystique, these brands are speaking directly to the new luxury consumer, someone who values meaning over myth, someone who doesn't need to be seen. They need to believe in what they're wearing. Even more damning, Hermès has no real digital strategy. Its online presence is cold, restricted, and deliberately vague. Meanwhile, emerging luxury brands are thriving by engaging directly with their audience, offering live-stream Q&As, behind-the-scenes factory footage, and real-time community feedback. They aren't afraid of being seen. They aren't afraid of being known. Hermès, it's still hiding behind the curtain. And in this era of radical transparency, secrecy isn't chic, it's suspicious. So where does that leave Hermès? Caught in a paradox. If it opens up, it risks destroying the very mystique that made it powerful. But if it refuses to change, it becomes obsolete, an out-of-touch relic of an era that's rapidly dying. One where power meant silence, and luxury meant exclusion. Today, silence is guilt, and exclusion is just bad business. The Birkin will always have a legacy. But legacies don't guarantee relevance. And right now, Hermès is playing a dangerous game. One where authenticity matters more than aspiration, and where a generation raised on truth, trauma, and TikTok won't hesitate to cancel an empire that refuses to evolve. The house of Hermès still stands, but the foundation is cracked. The question now is, will they rebuild, or will the next wave of luxury finally wash them away? Kylie Jenner didn't cancel Hermès. She did something worse. She ignored it. No fiery call-out. No expose. No public statement. She just stopped wearing Birkins. Stopped posting them. Stopped mentioning the brand that once helped define her image as the ultimate Gen Z luxury girl. And that silence? It spoke louder than any boycott. Because Kylie wasn't just a Hermès customer. She was the Hermès customer. A walking billboard with a closet worth millions in exotic Birkins and Kellys. She flaunted custom pieces, rare colors, limited editions. She didn't just buy the fantasy, she sold it. So when she quietly pivoted, trading crocodile for Bottega, swapping orange boxes for muted tones and understated luxury, the culture noticed. And just like that, a tipping point was born. Kylie didn't need to bash Hermès. Her absence did the talking. It told her 400 million followers, this isn't cool anymore. And in today's attention economy, irrelevance is the death knell. Other celebrities took notes. Suddenly, the usual suspects were missing from the Birkin narrative. Cardi B, who once flexed her $500,000 Hermès collection on Instagram, hasn't posted a Birkin in over a year. Kim Kardashian stylists are now pulling vintage Alaya and custom Balenciaga, but the Birkins are gone. Lori Harvey, once the queen of monochrome Kelly looks, has shifted to Loewe, Loro Piana, and lesser-known artisan brands that whisper luxury instead of scream it. Even Beyoncé, who famously had a Hermès Himalaya crocodile clutch commissioned, has turned her spotlight elsewhere, sporting indie labels and black-owned fashion houses in recent appearances. The message is clear. Old luxury is out. Intentional luxury is in. And it's not just red carpet choices, it's resale too. Insiders say some A-listers are quietly offloading their Hermès pieces through private luxury consigners and invitation-only auctions. Not because they need the money, but because they no longer want the association. And if that sounds like a stretch, consider this. In the world of celebrity image, perception is currency. No one wants to be seen clinging to a brand mired in scandal, secrecy, and whispers of fraud. The stars are always ahead of the public. They see the cultural shift coming before the press does. And right now, the shift is away from Hermès. Because if Kylie Jenner, the queen of curated luxury, can walk away without a word, it means one thing. The dream is no longer worth selling. And when the celebrities walk out quietly, the fans don't riot. They follow. So here we are. After decades of dominance, Hermès stands exposed. The house that once represented untouchable elegance has been dragged, dissected, and demystified by whistleblowers, by TikTok investigators, by consumers who finally dare to ask, what are we really paying for? It used to mean something. A Birkin wasn't just a bag. It was a ticket into a secret world, one of legacy, craftsmanship, and whispered exclusivity. But now, the secrets are spilling out. Chinese factories, racist sales practices, artificial scarcity, prices rising while quality control plummets. A heritage brand cracking under the weight of its own illusions. The mystique? Gone. The rarity? Manufactured. The exclusivity? Manipulative. And the question no one at Hermès seems ready to answer is the one the world is asking loudest. Without the smoke and mirrors, what is Hermès really? Because if the bags are mass-produced in secret, if the materials aren't ethically sourced, if the treatment of customers depends on skin tone or spending habits, then what exactly are people worshipping? What's left when a magic trick is exposed? We're watching a generational shift in real time. Luxury is being redefined by authenticity, sustainability, and transparency. And Hermès? It's clinging to a fading fantasy in a world that's demanding receipts. The question now isn't whether Hermès can survive this. It's whether it deserves to. Because the final reckoning isn't coming from regulators or exposés. It's coming from us. And maybe, just maybe, the next luxury icon won't be built on mystery at all. What do you think? Is Hermès still a symbol of timeless class? Or just the world's most expensive illusion?